Let's take a trip back in time and look at some hidden treasures in American car history. These are the 10 oldest American cars you might not know about, and each one has a cool story behind it. The 1903 Ford Model A. The Ford Model A, often in the shadow of the Model T that came after it, is important in car history as the first car Ford Motor Company ever made. It came out in July 1903, just a month after the company started, and it kicked off Henry Ford's plan to change the car industry forever. Back then, cars were fancy things that rich people bought, often made just for them and costing a lot of money. The 1903 Model A had a two-seater runabout design with a curved dash that stood out and an engine mounted at the back. A flat twin engine powered it, giving 8 horsepower, and it could reach speeds of about 28 miles per hour. One of its big breakthroughs was its planetary transmission, which worked better and was simpler to use than the gear systems in other cars back then. The 1904 Oldsmobile Model F. The 1904 Oldsmobile Model F stands out as a key part of car history. Ransom Eli Olds started the Olds Motor Vehicle Company, which made this car. The Model F was one of their curved dash runabouts. These cars were some of the first to be mass-produced in America. The company aimed to make cars that people could afford and rely on. This goal helped the Model F to have a big impact on making cars available to more people. It had a curved dash design that gave it a unique look and offered some protection to the people inside. The car ran on a single-cylinder, 7-horsepower engine under the seat, which was pretty simple to fix and keep running. The Model F also came with a chain drive system and a 2-speed planetary transmission, making it easy for drivers back then to use. The 1905 Cadillac Model D. The 1905 Cadillac Model D plays a key role in Cadillac's history. It laid the groundwork in the brand's early days and built Cadillac's name for luxury and new ideas. When the American car industry was just starting out, the Model D helped Cadillac stand out from other makers. It did this by focusing on quality and great engineering. The 1905 Model D had a 4-cylinder, 30-horsepower engine. This was a big step up from the single-cylinder engines in older models. This engine made the Model D run better and more, which made it more comfy and dependable to drive. The car had a roomy, stylish touring body that could seat 4 people. This showed how Cadillac cared about luxury and comfort. The 1906 Stanley Steamer. The 1906 Stanley Steamer shows us how car makers tried new things in the early days of automobiles. It ran on steam power, which made it different from other cars that used gasoline. Francis Edgar Stanley and Freeland Oscar Stanley, who were twins, created this car. The Stanley Steamer had a special engine that burned fuel outside the engine itself. This engine heated water in a boiler to make steam. The steam then pushed pistons to make the car move. When it comes to how well it worked, the 1906 Stanley Steamer stood out in its time. It could go as fast as 30 miles per hour, and its steam engine gave it strong pulling power, which made it a good fit for the bumpy and hilly roads of the early 1900s. The steamer's look was both practical and stylish, with a special boiler put on the front of the car, giving it a one-of-a-kind look. The 1907 Buick Model D. The 1907 Buick Model D shows Buick's early focus on new ideas and top-notch products. Buick, a leading U.S. car maker, made big leaps in car tech during its early days. The Model D, which came out in 1907, featured several of Buick's groundbreaking advances. One key feature was the overhead valve engines. These engines worked better and used less fuel than the flathead engines many other car makers were using at the time. The Model D came with a strong 255 cubic inch, 4-cylinder engine that put out about 30 horsepower, which was quite a lot back then. This engine let the car reach good speeds and run. The Model D looked both stylish and practical, with a roomy 4-door touring body that had plenty of space for passengers. The 1908 Studebaker Garford. The 1908 Studebaker Garford plays a key role in the early car history of the United States. It came from a team-up between the Studebaker Brothers Manufacturing Company and Garford Motor Company. Back then, Studebaker was a well-known wagon maker wanting to get into the growing car market. Garford, on the other hand, focused on making top-notch car parts. The Studebaker Garford played a key role in car history as it showed one of the first examples of teamwork in the auto world. By joining forces and sharing what they were good at, Studebaker and Garford made a car that was both dependable and groundbreaking. This team-up paved the way for future car company partnerships and mergers, showing how working together can push technology and manufacturing forward. The 1909 Ford Model T. The 1909, the Ford Model T stands out as one of the cars that caused a revolution in automotive history. Many people say it turned the automobile from something the rich could afford into a way for regular folks to get around. Ford started selling the Model T in October 1908. They made it cheap, tough, and simple to drive, which made it different from many other cars at the time. One of the main reasons for the Model T's success was its groundbreaking production method. Henry Ford caused a revolution in manufacturing when he put the moving assembly line into action in 1913, which cut production costs and time. This enabled Ford to sell the Model T for much less than other cars at that time, making it available to more people. By 1935, a new Model T cost about $260, way less than its original price. The 1910 Overland Model 38. The 1910 Overland Model 38 stands out as a key car that shows how Overland helped shape early car making in America. Started in 1903, the Overland Automobile Company soon became known for making cars that were trustworthy and easy on the wallet. Come 1910, Overland had grown to be the #2 car maker in the US, which goes to show how well its business plans worked and how much people liked its cars. The Overland Model 38 had a strong design and cutting-edge technology for its era. It came with a 4-cylinder engine that generated about 25 horsepower, giving it enough power to drive in cities and the countryside. The car's build included a tough chassis, which added to how long it lasted and how well it held up. You could get the Model 38 in different body types, like touring cars and roadsters, giving buyers options to choose from. The 1911 Marmon Wasp. The 1911 Marmon Wasp is famous in racing history as the first car to win the Indianapolis 500. It claimed victory in the first ever race on May 30, 1911. Ray Harroun drove the Marmon Wasp to success at the Indy 500, which was a big deal. This win mattered for 2 reasons. First, it kicked off what would grow into one of the world's most well-known car races. Second, the car's new features and smart choices played a key role in its triumph. The Marmon Wasp had a design that made it stand out. It looked different from other cars racing at the time. Its body was smooth and shaped like a wasp, which helped it cut through the air better and go faster. Under the hood, it had a big engine, 490 cubic inches with 6 cylinders. This engine was strong for its day, putting out about 100 horsepower. The 1912 Chevrolet Classic 6. The 1912 Chevrolet Classic 6 kicks off a legendary story for the Chevrolet brand, as it was their first car to hit the market. Swiss race car driver and engineer Louis Chevrolet teamed up with General Motors founder William Crapo Durant to create this vehicle. They aimed to challenge the fancy cars of that era with the Classic 6. The Classic 6 stood out as a remarkable car in its day, with a 299 cubic inch, 6-cylinder engine that had an output of 40 horsepower. This engine gave the car the ability to reach speeds up to 65 miles per hour, putting it among the quickest cars of that time. The car had a good-looking and sturdy build, with a curved body, an extended hood, and room for 5 people to sit. It also came with cutting-edge features like an electric starter and electric lights, which were seen as groundbreaking back then. If you liked this look back in time, remember to click the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to get more interesting car stories.